CoryxKenshin situation is insane. Legal action. Now that's crazy because the last time I've ever heard of this guy's name was back then when I was in like 9th or 8th grade. I'm not gonna lie, bruh. That's kind of crazy that people still remember him, but apparently something happened to him. He got worse or something. Anyways, crazy shout out obviously goes to Slopmmuel, and let's just get straight to the video, bruh. Let's go.
Legal counsel representing CoryxKenshin sent me a cease and desist letter regarding content I published that discussed allegations and claims made by multiple individuals.
I'm sorry, but seriously, is anyone shocked in the slightest that this happened? Ladies and gentlemen, Slopmmuel viewers, a year ago this month, we started covering the accusations that Panda Ninja levied against CoryxKenshin. Since those accusations broke against CoryxKenshin last year, we've extensively covered the situation since.
Bro, wasn't he in like the FNAF movie driving a taxi or some shit? Doesn't he only play games like FNAF? Isn't he like a FNAF player? Why the fuck is he getting accused? And why is it legal actions, bro? Let the man be. Let him play FNAF, bro.
That point. By the end of the situation, former friend of CoryxKenshin, Mavatak, had got involved in the situation, and the last thing posted was a video by him titled CoryxKenshin's Alleged Victim. To say this video by Mavatak was not only bad, but incredibly reckless would be an incredible understatement. Mavatak had taken it upon himself to platform these quote-unquote alleged victims who hadn't come on to speak about themselves with very little evidence for very serious accusations. To say very little evidence or proof, I mean that is being charitable because a lot of these claims had none.
Whole group chat thing? That's actually nauseating. I never wanted to believe he'd actually show people stuff like that. How did you even find out he was sending your pics? I didn't have proof, but I put 2 and 2 together after a while. I would send one pic and he would ask for more and ask derogatory questions for a spicy response from me, then go ghost, which made me realize he was hyping me to entertain his posse.
It was crazy to see Mavatak just blindly platform quote-unquote victims who had absolutely no proof of even an association with CoryxKenshin, let alone any evidence of the things they were claiming. Everything we've discussed here is just a sliver of how insane the situation was and how—
I swear to God, I don't know what the fuck is going on, bro. How the fuck did we go from talking to Cory to saying something like Cory's asking me for spicy pics, bro? And who the fuck was that in the chat? A girl or a guy, bro? Is Cory gay or isn't he? Or is he straight, bro? What the fuck's going on, bro? I don't understand shit so far.
Badly and recklessly Mavatak handled the said situation. Now, I highly recommend if you want to learn more about the situation to go and check out my previous coverage, but it does seem like Mavatak's reckless behaviour in this situation has come back to bite him in the arse as CoryxKenshin's legal team got involved. 1 hour ago at the time recording, CoryxKenshin's legal team sent me a cease and desist.
Legal counsel representing CoryxKenshin sent me a cease and desist letter regarding content I published that discussed allegations and claims made by multiple individuals. In this video, I am going to explain what I received, how I understood it, what followed, and where I stand now.
I mean, everyone wanted to know where he went and why he wasn't speaking about the situation, and I guess we got the answer. I'm always incredibly wary when we see a YouTuber or a content creator or an online influencer go down the legal route when dealing with a situation. And that's in any capacity, right? Even if it is just a cease and desist. And my worries and concerns around content creators going down a route like that has only increased further with the frivolous actions taken by someone like Ethan Klein as of recent. When it comes to CoryxKenshin's handling of this situation, I'm honestly not surprised he went down this avenue whatsoever. And I really don't blame him. The content that Mavatak was putting out was incredibly reckless. He was platforming accusations with absolutely no evidence, and he was clearly trying to push a narrative that CoryxKenshin was this evil, horrific—
Yo, whoever did this video, like, you're amazing. Everything is good. Your explanations are good. But calm down while speaking, gang. You're trying to talk, but you're not breathing. You're talking so fast like this that you're not even trying to take a deep breath. And then continue now. You're just rapping it like Eminem, bro. Like, watch this shit. No. Look at this back, bro. Look how he speaks.
Of this situation, I'm honestly not surprised he went down this avenue whatsoever. And I really don't blame him. The content that Mavatak was putting out was incredibly reckless. He was platforming accusations with absolutely no evidence. And he was—
See what I mean? Calm your fucking ass down, bro. Wallahi, the video ain't running away, bro. The video is like 15 minutes long, bro. You can make it longer if you want to. Add 20 minutes to it if you want to, but calm down, bro.
Clearly trying to push a narrative that CoryxKenshin was this evil, horrific abuser. You are the one that are platforming mainly unheard accusations that have absolutely no proof. You are going to be the person that all the shit comes back onto. It's one of the many reasons why being the person to break the accusation instead of letting the victims come out on their own accords and their own platform is a risky move, because you carry a part of that burden to make sure that you are putting those accusations out there properly and you've got all your ducks in a row. And if you want to take on that risk, you need to know what you're actually doing. And Mavatak very clearly didn't know what he was doing. He was publishing accusations publicly on the behalf of other people without a shred of evidence. Which is one thing for that testimony to come directly from an individual on their own platform, and it's for another thing for you to platform that individual saying those things without any evidence. I mean, both aren't great, but the latter is severely worse, especially for the person platforming them.
January 30th, 2026, I received a cease and desist letter by email from legal counsel representing CoryxKenshin. I am not going to display private contact information, legal addresses, signatures, or unnecessary identifying details. I am also not treating this video like a legal proceeding. A cease and desist letter is not a court ruling, and discussing one online does not resolve the dispute. But the correspondence is part of the reason this video exists, so I believe it is important to explain its general substance. The letter disputes the accuracy, interpretation, and presentation of portions of my previous content. It states that Cory denies the categories of misconduct discussed in the January 5th, 2026 video and characterizes the interactions at issue as consensual adult interactions.
In regards to that video and any accusations within, this is the first thing we've heard from CoryxKenshin in any way, shape, or form. I think the only thing left to say we've taken...
Bruh, I swear to God, I thought CoryxKenshin, the last time I saw him was in the FNAF 2 driving a taxi or some shit, bro. That's literally the last time I heard of him, but I never knew he went down that path. When is the last time CoryxKenshin posted a video? I'm gonna search that shit right now, bro. When is the last time he posted? When is the last time you post, man? The last time he posted was 4 months ago, playing Resident Evil for 2 fucking hours and got 8.3 million views. 8 million people watch a 2-hour playing the fucking game. Who else? He doesn't post a lot unless he's making good money. Yeah, that motherfucker rich as fuck, bro. That's his estimate monthly. Motherfucker makes 200k a month. Bro, if I was Cory, shit, I'm not posting at all. Post once a year, everyone is gonna come back to that. What the fuck? This motherfucker has 200k a month. Motherfucker be driving Lambos and shit now, bro. That is literally the last time motherfucker, if I made 200k. Whew. Never knew some YouTubers can be that rich, bro, but let's get to the video.
Heard from CoryxKenshin in any way, shape, or form. I think the only thing left to say with taking it down this route and issuing a cease and desist is it really worth doing all this for a video with 30,000 views, even if ultimately I can understand why CoryxKenshin would want to. And that isn't a defense of Mavatak. That is just me simply pointing out that that video really didn't get much traction outside of commentary YouTubers who covered it and tore it to shreds. Ultimately, is it worth the hassle outside of just the principle of the entire situation? The problem I massively had with Mavatak's video as well is if there were actual alleged victims that truly were victims of CoryxKenshin, the other ones that had absolutely zero proof completely weighed them down. And that's without mentioning Mavatak's credibility, which would have just shot them completely. And once more, this all comes down to not only Mavatak's handling of the situation, but just the lack of evidence provided.
The correspondence argues that private conduct was selectively reframed in a materially misleading way. It also challenges how I interpreted and presented certain screenshots and messages, particularly my previous references to fabrication, Photoshop, or AI. The letter argues that those conclusions were made without sufficient technical verification and says that the disputed materials refuted earlier accusations rather than supporting them. It characterizes my decision to speak publicly as being motivated by profit and attention, argues that attributing statements to other people does not remove responsibility for publishing them.
Which this is something that I've noted and been speaking about since January. An overwhelming majority of the claims within that video, it was the first time that we were actually hearing of them, and it was Mavatak who was platforming them said accusations. And he was doing it in the worst way possible without a shred of evidence for a large majority of those claims. That was always going to come back to bite in the ass in some way, shape, or form if it was public scrutiny or something like this. Really put, Mavatak wouldn't be in the situation that he is currently in if he decided to handle the situation properly and wasn't a reckless twat.
Claims that the publications caused reputational harm and raises a separate copyright concern regarding the use of video content. The letter requests the removal of specific content, a public retraction or correction of certain statements, and preservation of materials connected to the dispute.
Mavatak, after stating this, goes on to clarify the following.
Says that Cory would prefer to avoid litigation but will enforce his rights if necessary.
Yeah, the hope would be in this situation.
How the fuck is that even happening as we speak right now, bro? Doesn't this guy just play games? How the fuck does a guy who play games 24/7 like Queso turned out to be like that, bro. What the fuck, bro? I don't understand none of that, bro.
Is the Maverick complies with the cease and desist, and nothing has to escalate beyond that point.
I didn't treat the letter as a court finding, but I did treat it as a formal notice that specific statements, interpretations, and uses of content were being challenged. That required me to review my wording, the materials I relied on, the way different videos could be understood together, and what should remain public. That is part of why I am making this video the way I am making it now. I am not erasing my experience, and I am not pretending I had no reason to speak. I am not dismissing the experiences, communications, materials, and concerns that led to me speaking publicly in the first place. But I do recognize the weight of speaking publicly about serious matters, especially when those matters involve someone's name, reputation, career, audience, and community.
I mean, you clearly didn't until it escalated to this point. You were very happy to publish unheard accusations with very little to no evidence and go around actively mocking CoryxKenshin during this time and go on a hate slander campaign. It's only now that things are escalated that you're properly thinking about this because you don't want it to go any further than it has to. Again, this all comes back to Maverick's reckless handling of the situation.
I then narrowed the public visibility of certain uploads. Those visibility changes are separate from preservation. The underlying records have not been erased simply because some material is no longer publicly accessible. The purpose of narrowing that content is to reduce confusion and avoid further escalation, not to pretend the content never existed or to remove the preserved record.
I'm in floods of tears that content got removed, mate. I'm devastated.
I chose to speak publicly. I am not going to pretend I did not make that choice. I chose that path because from my perspective, remaining silent did not feel honest to what I had experienced, reviewed, and understood at the time. The letter characterizes that decision as being motivated by profit and as using Cory's prominence to generate attention and traffic. I want to address that directly. The serious commentary videos were monetized. I am not hiding that. I also recognize that publishing content involving a prominent creator can attract attention, views, and revenue. But those things do not accurately describe why I chose to.
I don't believe Maverick's reasoning for publishing.
Bro, why? Bro, I wanted to know why he made that video if it's not about views, bro. Because I'm like 100% sure he's doing this shit for views, bro. Because what the fuck do you mean Cory's gonna go to court with me? This guy has nothing to do with the fucking court. I wanted to hear, bro. I wanted to hear why is he doing this video.
And the content on behalf of these alleged victims came down to a money-orientated and view perspective. From my own opinion on the situation, I think it came down to an emotionally and personally charged ideal. Maverick's entire involvement in the situation stems from the fact that he was former friends with CoryxKenshin and they had a falling out. It's very clear he had emotional ties in the situation, and ultimately I think that was the driving force for a lot of his reckless decisions.
So you really wanna take it to court with your best friend, man? Boy, I hate these type of people. Well, fuck you, bro. Take it up to court is mad.
In the situation. A lot of them, I think, driven from the fact to try and get back at CoryxKenshin. Of course, that's just my perspective. I'm very interested to see what you, the viewer, would have to say about that.
I chose to speak because of my own experiences, the communications and materials I had reviewed, and the concerns that had been brought to me. I stand by what I personally experienced and by the reasons I chose to speak. I also stand by my right to explain my perspective. But once I chose a public path, I became responsible for how I carried that choice. That is the balance I'm trying to hold here. I can stand by my reasons for speaking while also choosing restraint. I can acknowledge that the situation became emotionally charged without turning this video into another escalation.
Yes, I mean, you have to because it's a cease and desist, right? You don't get much wiggle room here, but this is realistically the way you should have been conducting the situation the entire time. In a serious manner, especially if you wanted to be the one to publicize accusations that hadn't been heard against CoryxKenshin before. We're not talking about a commentary YouTuber, a drama YouTuber, or just a YouTuber in general covering accusations that have been talking about a gamer, content creator by another individual. We're talking about someone who decided to, by their own accord, publicize accusations from individuals that hadn't come out to speak about it themselves. Without Maverick making their video, a lot of the accusations we heard within, we wouldn't have actually heard before. So having some restraint, not being emotionally charged, and not being reckless are some things that Maverick should have taken into consideration when making his content and publicizing his videos against Cory. I'm just going to speed up the next bit because it is important, but it is a lot of, you know, what
I offered an interpretation. That interpretation was also based on the information available to me. But an interpretation should not be presented as a technical finding or a legal conclusion. That distinction matters. Some of the serious commentary also included statements from other people describing their own experiences. Those portions should be understood as personal accounts and allegations from the individuals making them, not as court findings or legal conclusions. I also understand that identifying something as an allegation or attributing statements to another.
You know that you can cut while editing, then just skip to the best part. No need to do all that shit, right? Let me just skip for the plus 5 seconds, plus 10 seconds, plus 2. Holy shit, you just skipped everything at this point.
Analysis of the disputed.
Another skip? What the fuck did he say?
Materials.
Again, all of this comes down to
for what is all this then?
how Mavatak publicly went about the situation, how he provided the evidence that he was given with these accusations, and the accusations leveled against CoryxKenshin that he was given to publicize. A lot of what Mavatak is saying towards the latter end of this clip is all about if he actually went through those extra steps to confirm what he was being sent and the message logs to actually confirm their legitimacy. Now, of course, a lot of what he's saying is based on a legal precedent and because of the cease and desist, but ultimately I do think it's very funny because we really saw no actual evidence. We didn't see any chat logs, we didn't see any of these calls, none of this was actually...
So he's doing this for views and money. Bro, just say that, but didn't need to do all that bullshit. Like, come on, man.
Properly included in his video outside of a couple of examples for certain accusations. A lot of the accusations were very lacking in evidence and proof or had nothing at all and was just purely testimony. And was, like alleged, only do a certain amount of carrying when you were pushing those accusations and are directly the source for those claims. I think what also makes a lot of this hard to follow outside of the, legal mumbo jumbo is ultimately there is no clarification on what specifically Mavatak is speaking about when referencing these details.
In the earlier video, I used direct language about fabrication, Photoshop, or AI, based on what I had observed, differences between the materials, the support interaction, and the surrounding context available to me at the time. Those circumstances gave me reasons to question the disputed presentation. But having reasons to question something is not the same as having a forensic conclusion, and my earlier wording did not make that distinction clearly enough. For that reason, I am not repeating Photoshop, AI, or fabrication here as established technical facts. The materials raised questions for me, but any definitive conclusion about whether an image was altered or accurately reflected the underlying data should be based on original data, qualified technical analysis, and other reliable evidence reviewed through an appropriate process.
Now, from him saying earlier video and talking about messages being altered, it's very clear that he's talking about the Panda Ninja situation, as that was a key element in that story, especially when CoryxKenshin had responded. That was a heavy line of argumentation against CoryxKenshin, that he had heavily altered those messages to push a certain narrative and his side to try and discredit Panda Ninja. Mavatak then goes on to talk about the copyright element of the situation before stating that a physical version of the cease and desist was handed to one of his family members. Mavatak then goes on to reveal that after receiving the cease and desist, he actually had a conversation and a phone call with CoryxKenshin.
So you actually, you called him? Phone call after legal correspondence. The conversation concerned the dispute, prior events, and our history. Call audio not played. Private contact information not displayed. So the call audio is not played. You're not gonna show us what both of y'all were talking about. So what the fuck will you show us then? If that's it, like you're gonna tell us the summary what happened basically.
To play the call or quote it line by line. The conversation concerned the dispute, prior events, and our history. I took time to process that conversation as part of deciding how to move forward. Because the call came after the legal correspondence and involved our prior history, I experienced it as serious and emotionally heavy. I am not assigning legal meaning or private intent to what was said, and I am not presenting my reaction to the call as proof of anyone's intent or wrongdoing. Corey may remember or understand that conversation differently. That is why I am keeping the description general, preserving the relevant material, and limiting what I say publicly.
The next day.
I am not asking anyone to blindly believe me. I am also not asking anyone to blindly defend anyone else. Whether you support me, support him, feel conflicted, or are simply trying to understand. I am not asking you to—
I'm not supporting none of y'all gang. I'm just here for the fucking views. I'm not gonna lie. Fuck you, FOK, but no, Corey, I used to watch him when he played for Nev. Like he inspired me. It's like how Markiplier inspired me. But that's a different story. But like, fuck both of y'all, bro. That's the end of the story for me.
To attack anybody. I am asking people to listen carefully, think critically, and remember that serious situations rarely fit cleanly into internet narratives. There has to be room for a middle ground.
There definitely is always room for a middle ground, and no situation, especially one featuring allegations, is never not nuanced. There is always nuances in accusation-based situations. However, when you recklessly publish accusations with little to no evidence, there is ultimately going to be less nuance on that side, and less, ultimately, charitability when it comes to that aspect of the situation. People are more likely to side with CoryxKenshin when faced with accusations that have absolutely no evidence behind them and come from a place with absolutely zero credibility. If the claims didn't jump to conclusions, actually had evidence behind them, and weren't published by someone who had zero credibility and a clear bias towards CoryxKenshin, there would be more nuance and more charitability in that situation. And I'm speaking not only from a content creator's perspective, but also an audience audience perspective.
I know some people will say I shouldn't speak at all. Others will probably say I should go harder. Some people may never see this the way I do. But I don't believe pushing harder is what this situation needs right now. I think it needs clarity. I think it needs restraint. And I think it needs people to remember that public conflict still involves human beings. That is why I am making this video. Not to tear anyone down, not to keep the conflict going. I am giving you the context I can give from the position I actually lived through.
And that was Mavatag's video talking about the cease and desist. Of course, there is stuff that I haven't included in this video, so I highly recommend that you go and check out Mavatag's video for yourself and watch that video if you are interested on hearing everything that he has to say about the situation. It very much seems like Mavatag is going to be trying to handle the rest of the situation privately, so I honestly don't know what to expect from this situation now going forward. I'd be very interested to see what you, the viewers, got to say about this entire situation.
No, I'm just surprised that Cory got himself in trouble like that, bro. I never knew some guy like him could do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Filing a cease and desist in the first place, and what Mavatag has had to say on the entire situation. And while still you also subscribe and hit the notification bell to miss any future Slopmmuel content or any updates on this situation. Bye, been your Samuel, watching Slopmmuel. I'll catch you in the next YouTube video. Goodbye.
That's something that we just Anyways, hope you guys did enjoy that video. I'm not gonna lie, I need to sleep. It's like 7 a.m. in the fucking morning. I haven't even slept for making this YouTube. I hope you guys do watch and enjoy that video. And I love y'all. See you guys in the next one. And peace.